Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beard, taking a look at race number 8 at Aqueduct on Sunday. It's the Artie Schiller Stakes. We're going a mile on the inner turf. Let's take a look at this field. Purse money for this race, $150,000. We've got three horses on the also eligible list. They're numbers 10 through 12. It's a fairly competitive group in here, Mike. The number 1, Pioneering Spirit, though, just seems like a very snug fit from a class level. Got really hot during the spring and into the summer for Linda Rice, and comes off a giant win in an off-turf match race that we're not supposed to pay attention to.
Yeah, exactly. That race doesn't matter. Although it wasn't surprising to see him win by 100 in there. His turf form prior to that, though, Dan, that's what you really want to focus on here. Forget the grade 1, 2 starts back. He's not that kind of horse. I guess Linda Rice just try to squeeze in one more victory for this horse before turf season ends.
Yeah, take out the grade 1s, and he's won what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. He's versatile from a distance standpoint, and he has good tactical speed. We throw up the time form US pace projector. A little surprised, Mike, to see Pioneering Spirit, the horse with the fastest time form US late pace rating, hovering near the back of the pack. But I guess if they go guns blazing up front, they'll be comfortable with him back there.
Yeah, they will. We'll see how fast this pace is. I don't think it's going to be that fast. Mason, the 8, he could make the lead in here, Dan. I don't think they'll be in any hurry to get there. He's perfectly fine stalking the pace. The 4, Big Everest, he's a horse who seems like he's at his best on the early lead, and I'm sure they'll try to get him there.
Pioneering Spirit again ticks all the boxes pretty much, even coming back on relatively short notice. It didn't bother him when he won the Bernard Baruch, coming back on 9 days rest, 3 starts back. He's coming back on short notice here. A good draw, good positional speed, just lots to like. 7-2 is a very fair price considering his body of work in 2023.
Yeah, we'll see if he's, going to start heading on the downside here after a very long campaign on the grass, Dan. But there's nothing to knock about what this horse has done on the turf. Wins at a mile, mile and a 16th, mile and an eighth, mile and a quarter, mile and 3/8. The distance doesn't matter. He gets any kind of a trip. He can stay close and he'll still run. He can come from last. He'll still run. There's just a lot to like about this horse, and I think there's another good trip coming from the rail.
The 2, Bring Me a Check, tried to steal it against Pioneering Spirit. 2 starts back in the Bernard Baruch. They were stretching him out in distance. He got the right ride. Pioneering Spirit was just a better horse. They cut him all the way back to 6 for this race. A high-level allowance. This time, Bring Me a Check sat just off of the pace, and he's going to finish 3rd down towards the inside. You see that he's down inside and behind horses, and the jock decides to alter course to the outside. It was a good, solid effort for Bring Me a Check, but I have questions about him at this distance.
I do too. And listen, his recent form is good, but I don't know if it's good against horses like this. I suspect it'll show up and run, his typical race in this spot, Dan. I just didn't think it could be good enough.
Number 3 is James Aloysius. He's a very lightly raced 4-year-old. Perhaps we haven't seen his best just yet. And he's coming into this race in solid enough form. Here's his most recent start. 2nd level allowance during the Belmont at the Big A meet. They turn into the stretch, and James Aloysius is right there with a big chance turning for home, and he's going to finish a close 2nd in a bunched up finish.
Yeah, he's another one. His overall form's really good. He doesn't, have a huge excuse here, but it's another pretty good performance from this horse. And more than anything else, then I just feel like, the shorter you go with this horse, it's probably better off for him. I don't think he really wants to go that far. We found that out 2 starts back, I think. The mile, I feel like it's a perfect distance for him. He'll be right up close to the pace in here. I think he can win.
The 4, Big Everest, has run very well fresh in the past. Maybe he'll benefit from this little 3-month layoff for trainer Christophe Clement. His most recent start was back at Monmouth over the summer, and he showed speed in the Oceanport as the favorite. He got a little bit tired. He has the speed to get up close to the pace. The problem is, with a horse like Mason in here, I'm not sure he's going to get much of a breather.
It kind of all comes down to how fast they make him go early. He's got several wins on his card, and you can just see all the wire-to-wire victories. He's also gotten away with so many super soft paces, so it's just hard to tell how good he actually is. He won this race last year on yielding turf and wire-to-wire. He walked on the early lead and totally took advantage. I think he's pretty good. I'm just not sure how good.
Number 5, Jerry the Nipper, is very consistent New York bred for trainer Todd Pletcher. He's hit the board in his last 7 races. Sort of an odd run last time out in the Mohawk, where he looked like he was going nowhere fast, turning into the stretch. And then once he kicks into the straight, he finds a little bit of run at the end. Maybe he just had some trouble picking it up over that yield and going.
Yeah, I thought so too. It was a little bit odd to see him, with that much left to do in the stretch. But overall, this horse's turf form is rock solid. I know he's coming out of New York bred races, Dan, but he's been running his last 3 starts against City Man and Spirit of St. Louis. In all 3 of those races, both of those horses would fit very well in this field. And this horse has held his own. I think he's a super interesting horse in this race.
From Pletcher to Brown, the 6 exact estimate goes out for Chad. This horse scored during the Belmont to the Big A meet in a second level allowance race. We see exact estimate. I thought for the most part worked out a nice trip, but Arad got him out early on the turn like he was loaded, and he made the lead at the right time because they're coming to get him late, and the wire saves exact estimate.
It does. This is a pretty decent horse, Freedom Trail, who's making a run at him at the end of this race, Dan. And I did, your point's well taken. He kind of got on the move a little early. He did get a perfect trip in this race overall, though, and I think it might have helped his cause a little bit. It was a step in the right direction, but I don't love him moving up in class here.
Wicked Finn, the number 7, is a perfectly likable horse, and he's going to be a giant price in this race. He's very, very consistent hitting the board in his last 5 races. He rallied from out of it last time out in the Red Bank, a race that was won by Perfect Trip St. Anthony. He is hoping for a fast pace up front. I could see Junior Alvarado put this horse on the move late and maybe sneak into the number at a big price.
I could see that too. I liked his last race. His recent form is good. I thought he ran well in there. He wasn't a real threat in that race, and St. Anthony did get a perfect trip to win it, but this horse ran through the stretch of that race.
On his best day, the number 8 Mason more than fits with this kind of horse. He was a graded stakes winner in 2022. Now, unfortunately, after the Keeneland Turf Mile last fall, he went on the layoff for a very long time. He returned in a tough spot. They had him sprinting in the Nearctic. He at least showed speed off the layoff, got hooked and tired. He probably gained a lot of fitness from that race.
Yeah, that's how I looked at him. He just looked like he really needed it. They did put him up close. He was going pretty well around the turn there on the lead, and he just got really tired through the stretch. So I think it's a race he really needed. Stretching out from 6 to a mile really helps this horse. He does not need the early lead to be effective. I mean, his good race makes him really, really tough in here.
He figures to be right there, or if not right there, right in front when the field turns into the stretch. St. Anthony coming into this race in good form for Neil Drysdale. We saw him Labor Day weekend win the Red Bank. He got a perfect trip and ride from Paco Lopez, settling inside after breaking from the far outside post, finding the split at an opportune time and holding off Wicked Finn.
Yeah, he did get a perfect trip in this race, but he also wins clear. He's the best horse in the race, even with a good trip. You'll see Wicked Finn come with a good late run to get up for second in this race. I like St. Anthony as a horse, Dan, and I do think he's a contender in here. I preferred other horses.
10 through 12 entered main track only. All 3 of those horses would have a big chance, obviously, if this is washed off. We'll take a look at our top picks for the Artie Schiller Pioneering Spirit. It seems all he does is win when he's not in grade 1 stakes races. He's not in a grade 1 here, and he's the kind of horse that can work out his own trip.
I'm going to stick with him here, Dan. I've been on this horse all year on the grass. I'm going to stick with him in here. It's another good spot for him if he shows up.
I want to see if this pace really does heat up. And if it does, I think Jerry the Nipper, who's pretty consistent, might be able to charge in the late stages. I'm going with a 5, 9, 4, and 6. Mike's going 1, 8, 5, and 3. It's the Artie Schiller and a nice Sunday card at the Big A. Best of luck.